Now, from internet censorship, we're moving to something that's very important. Everybody eats, at least once a day. Everybody eats, and so food is very important. Agriculture is important. Our farmers are important. But how do we sustain agriculture? Specifically, how do we avoid post-harvest losses, as is rife in Africa, and Nigeria is no stranger to that. Joining us to give us strategies on how we can use technology to scale agriculture, both in Nigeria and Africa, is Comfort Onyaga. She's the founder of Izanu Africa Limited. I call her the queen of the Izanu dynasty. Thanks for joining us on Tech Hub, Comfort.
Hi, good evening, Mercy. Thanks for having me.
All right, so talk to us. I mean, so far, you know, from the coronavirus pandemic, the lockdown we had till now, has there been any improvement so far when it comes to, you know, scaling agriculture, sustainable agriculture with innovation? Let's start from Nigeria, for instance.
I would like to say that there is a bit, right, but not quite significant, because people are still grappling with new innovations and technology. And of course, you're all aware that Nigeria was not ready for this industrial revolution. So it's like we're trying to play catch up at the moment. So it's really quite challenging for us to get to catch up with the rest of the world currently as it is in terms of innovative agricultural innovation, because scaling up agricultural innovation would mean maximizing the impact of agricultural intervention across both horizontally and vertically across the different sector and segments of the agricultural value chain in Nigeria.
I mean, talk to us. You need to break down this thing for us to understand. When people are saying, you know, scaling sustainable agriculture using innovation, you just mentioned your vertical and horizontal. Thank you. I really don't even understand that myself. Could you break that down for us specifically? What do we stand to gain when we leverage on innovation to scale agriculture in Nigeria or Africa?
Okay, thank you very much. So, Messi, I would like to say this, right? Okay. So scaling up agricultural innovation vertically or horizontally would mean start with, in terms of strategy, it requires concerted effort, right, between both the private sector and the public sector, as well as all the stakeholders in the agricultural sector. So, for instance, institutionally, what are the policies in place to support this adoption of new technologies that have been introduced into the global agricultural landscape? Is Nigeria prepared to accommodate that? Is the environment good enough to adopt these strategies or innovative tools? Even if the tools are there, are they developed? Are they developed back here at home, or was it developed with the context of Nigeria agricultural farmers in mind? So it's not just institutionally, it's also environmentally. Are we ready for that? If we are ready, what is stopping us from adopting this technology? We have the right financial policies in place to support the adoption. So let's take, for instance, you talk about post-harvest losses, right? You mentioned that. So during the COVID pandemic, you look at states like Benue State, which is known generally as the food basket of the nation. You realize that people were crying of hunger amidst plenty. Why is there post-harvest losses? Is it that the people are not there to eat the food, or the technologies are not in place to ensure that this food that we are losing post-harvest gets to the people to consume? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's the kind of juxtaposition. So if everything is in place, definitely there wouldn't be the gap. We won't have that gap, right? So for me, I see it as a gap between financing, right? Financing capital input. By capital input, I mean technology such as processing technology, right, that will aid and reduce the post-harvest losses of food. But we also go beyond that to talking about the supply chain management. We have the right tools and technology in place to convey products right? From the farm to market, or from even the market to the people where they are, because people are there, they are hungry, the food is there in surplus. So what happens? There is a gap. So is it a policy gap? Is it a gap in the technology innovation in itself? So whatever it is, we have to come to the place where both the public sector and the private sector will put their effort together, resources together, brainstorm, and ensure that whatever technological innovation is in place or the world is, running with, we are also ready to embrace and ensure that we bridge the gap in the agricultural sector.
Spot on, Comfort, spot on. Thank you so much. Quickly. I did an interview when the onion became the king of all food items. I think it was in December, where onions of 50 naira, you could buy it for as much as probably 200 naira. Yes, no exaggeration. I went to the market and I asked these people what the problem were. And they mentioned the issue of transportation. They also mentioned the issue of storage. And they also mentioned the issue of the border closure. I mean, and we have enough onion to feed the nation. What is the way forward? I want to know, is it the fault of the farmers, the fault of the government, or the fault of the entire stakeholders? These farmers, you can't tell them to use technology when you have not taught them to use technological implements for mechanized farming and the rest of them. Quickly, summarily, tell us the way forward for specifically, if you were, in a power that be, what would you do? Quickly, 2 points if you can.
Okay, yeah. So number one, I mentioned that it requires concerted effort, right, between all the stakeholders involved, both the farmers. So in relation to the farmer, we talk about behavioral change. Are the farmers ready to embrace the new approaches? Are they ready? And if they are ready, is the government ready to provide the environment and ensure that they put the right policies in place will support the financial institution to also fund the adoption of capital input, which is technology that we use to preserve the onions that we have in surplus during glut. So if we had such technologies in place, right, like what happened in December would have been mitigated. It wasn't really necessary, because it's not that these technologies are not there. They are there, but why is the government not coming up with financial policies that will support the farmers to be able to adopt these technologies and bridge that supply chain gap during the off season? So in terms of the infrastructure too, we talk about road. It is not in the place of the farmer to provide the road for the onions to get to the the market. It is the place of the government to ensure that the roads are fixed so that onions will get, and every other agro product, right, will get the people. So it requires a multi-stakeholders approach. So it is not left in the hands of the government alone, because if the behavior of the farmer does not change, the truth is, no matter the technologies in place, no matter the financial capital in place for farmers to even adopt this technology, if farmers will not adopt the technology, so there's a place of will on the part of the farmer to embrace that change. And there's a place of the government to ensure that the policy supports availability of infrastructure for farmers to also use this technology, right, in order to bridge the supply chain gap.
Comfort, spot on. Now, behavior, this is more like a multi-stakeholder, impact that we're talking about here. It's not just resting on the oars of one person. But we have come to realize from research and from everything that we see around that farming now tends to be for a particular generation, which is the older generation. As the younger generation, well, the Gen Zs and the millennials want blue-collar jobs, they want to be social media community managers, they want to be YouTubers and the rest of them. How can we make farming appealing to the younger generation? We are talking about food sustainability, food sufficiency for Nigeria and Africa, both for now and the future.
Okay, thank you. So in order to bridge that gap, right, we need to come to the place where we are able to, again, it rests on the shoulder of the government, right, to ensure that they make agriculture attractive again through mechanized farming. And that is why we're even setting up Izanu. And again, like I said, concerted effort between the private sector and the public sector will make this possible, will bridge that gap, because we have so many agri-tech company, right, springing up here and there, promoting mechanized farming. So we will come to an era where you no longer need to adopt the traditional method of farming to go into farming. You no longer need to own some kind of, technological tools, right, advanced or mechanized technology, farm equipment to go into farming. Then this is the gap Izanu is also trying to bridge. So in order to bridge that gap, we ensure that all the tools, and the truth is, agriculture to be attractive to this generation, right? The younger generation. We have to adopt mechanized farming, and it doesn't come cheap. But guess what? It can come cheap if these tools are democratized. So what happened to climate? We have climate smart seedlings. So what happened to us? Why don't we adopt technology that will also aid and make agriculture seamless? We have drones for planting, and we need the young people to operate the drones. They don't have to go to the farm to
Absolutely,
start,
comfort.
cultivating with their hands. So this is what we are talking about. If we have
Yes.
all of this in place, and it cannot just happen. That is why my emphasis is on capital input financing. So enough of, I'm not saying they should put an end to consumable input financing, and by way of differentiation, in order for the viewers to understand, capital input are those technological input, like
Comfort, thank you. I can smell the passion a mile away. Thank you so much, Comfort. I just hope the people who, need to hear this are hearing this, including me. Policymakers, policy shapers should try as much as possible to make farming appealing to the younger generation and put things in place to ensure that, farming is easy for anybody who wants to go into it, because everybody eats. That is how much you can take on today's edition of Tech Hub. Pretty exciting, pretty educational as well, right? Well, we need to leave now. Join the conversation on social media at Silverbird N24 or at Mercy Frank. Whatever topic you want to talk about, you want us to talk about whatever guest you think we can bring on the show to talk about this issue so there can be a change is what we need. My name is Mercy Frank, and until the next edition, ensure you wear your face mask and stay safe from the deadly coronavirus. Thanks for watching. Bye.